have bipartisan boards. They're called early boards. They take the ballots that Leslie gives us that are already signature verified and ready to count. They separate the ballots from the envelope. Then they batch the ballots into batches of 100 or around 100, send them over to Central Count, which is myself and Angie and Juliana, and then we put them through the machine, and we make sure we do an audit. So the early boards and the recorder's office gives a list and how many are on there. The early boards audit that to make sure that they match up, and then they give me the batch of ballots, and then we audit it to make sure that that matches up. So we do a bunch of audits along the way. And then what we do is we count all of those. We audit again how many ballots we get with the central count, and then we put the results online.
Okay, so right now, what is happening in this room?
So this is called the hand count audit. These are the two parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. They send over 4 people each from their parties, and we had a draw yesterday. So they draw 2 vote centers, and they draw 4 early ballot batches, and we bring those over with their machine results. And what they're doing is they're hand counting, and they're auditing the machine results. So they're hand counting, they're writing down what they're getting for a hand count, and then I bring out the machine results and we match.
What if they don't match?
Usually they recount and then they match. Usually it's them. If it doesn't, we do have a margin of error that we can have for the vote center ballots and the early ballots, and we have to be within that margin of error. All of the times that we've done this, I think only maybe twice we've had to go into that margin of error, and it was the polling place ballots. They didn't send back all the ballots on election night, like some got stuck into the box. So obviously that's not going to match the machine tally if we don't have all the ballots.
Right.
So that's the only time we've not matched. But
almost 20 years.
since we started doing central count, where they bring all the ballots back and we central count them, we're always spot on.
So I know there's the 11,100 ballots that have to be counted still. And what is the delay in starting to count those?
So by law, within 24 hours after the polls close, we have to start this process. I have 4 people that work for me, me and 3 other people. So we can do this or we can do that. And this, by law, we have to do first. So we have to finish the audit. Once we finish the audit, within 24 hours, we have to send the results to the Secretary of State. So we have to get all the results together. There's a whole packet of things we have to fill out, send to them. They put it online for everybody to look at for the audit. And then we can start tallying again.
So how long before we see updated results?
I'm really hoping, they're doing really well here today, so I'm really hoping that they get done early, and then I can take 2 people, we can start tallying again, 1 person can work on the results, and we can divide and conquer. So maybe we'll see some today. That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. It seems like there hasn't been this long of a delay as often in the past.
It depends on if there's going to be a hand count audit. The parties can choose not to participate in it. So in the past, if they haven't participated, then today we would be counting. We would have been counting yesterday. Yesterday what we did was we did the draw for the hand count audit. So we had to prepare for that, do the draw, the batches, get this room ready, everything. So again, we can't divide. We're just so many people.
But now you said the signatures have been verified of the other ballots
Yes,
right
they
now.
continued on Friday before the election is when the early voting ended. At that time, we have to upload everything into our e-poll books. What that does is it prevents anybody from voting twice because we have record of that. So we stop on entering anything other than verifying those signatures. We continue to verify signatures. Those 11,000 are just the early ballots that were dropped off when early voting started and through election day. Dropped off either at the vote center at our drop boxes and drop boxes throughout the county over the weekend. But we've continued to verify those signatures so that as soon as we could pass them and transfer them over to the elections department to their early board, we could get them to them. But it's a process that we would normally do regardless of the hand count. So we're continuing to do that. We didn't delay on that. We didn't
Okay.
delay any of that. And as of Friday, everything that had come in up to that point, all the early ballots, had already been signature verified, transferred to the elections department, and they were caught up. They had everything tabulated. So that's just what came in at the last minute.
Yeah, so basically Saturday, Sunday, Monday,
And Tuesday. Just that 4 days.
4
worth of
days,
ballots.
yeah. And this year is unique because we had the PPE election beginning of the year. And a lot of people vote early, and they voted. And then in the PPE election, a lot of times candidates will drop out. So then they voted their ballot, and then they felt cheated because their candidate dropped out, and they wanted to vote again. And of course, we're not going to send them a second ballot. You get to vote once. That's how it works. So for this election, they wanted to wait and see if anybody dropped out. Now, it's not the same kind of election as the PPE, so candidates don't drop out very often in a primary or a general.
Right.
So that's how that works. And for the May election, it didn't happen. Like, they didn't hold their ballot because we had yes and no. And yes and no never drop out. So they knew that those questions were going to be on there. They could get their ballots in early, and that's just the way it works.
Let's clarify what PPE is.
Oh, a PPE is a presidential preference election.
Okay.
And that's the one we had in March.
All right. Talk to me about write-in ballots and what the process is for that.
Okay.
That's a long process. That's a hard process.
Well, and actually, a write-in candidate has to fill out paperwork to be a valid write-in candidate to have their votes counted. So how it works is a person will fill in the oval next to write-in and write the name of that candidate in. That's how it's supposed to work. And we count that vote. Now, the machine doesn't know what's written in that space. It can see that the oval is filled in next to the write-in, and it will stop and say, hey, Lynn, there's a write-in on this ballot someplace. And I pull that ballot and I set it aside, and then a team of 3 people has to look at that. We have to manually look at every single write-in and see if it's valid or not and which ones can be counted. So a lot of times, especially in a primary, somebody will get, let's say, a Libertarian ballot. And there was nobody on the Libertarian ballot this time. So they know that Leslie Hoffman is running for recorder, and they'll write her in for recorder, Libertarian. Except Leslie Hoffman's Republican. So that doesn't count. But I still have to pull that ballot, look at it, see that Leslie Hoffman is not a valid write-in, and cross it off. And we have thousands of those to look at. Because they don't just write in Leslie Hoffman, they write in Mickey Mouse, and they write in anyone but, and they write in Bernie Sanders, and they write in Donald
Themselves.
Trump, they write in themselves, and none of those are valid, but they have to be looked at by a board of 3 and agree that they are not valid write-ins. Now, we do have valid write-ins, like in the town of Jerome. We have 2 valid write-ins, and they're waiting for me to go through those thousands of ballots to see how many votes they got, and that is a process that we do last.
So, when is your deadline that you have to be done with everything?
So we have next Wednesday is the Board of Supervisors meeting, and that's when the board will canvass. I'm on that agenda. So we have to have everything done, everything audited, everything counted, and ready to go for Wednesday's meeting.
And when they canvass that, does that mean that's the final official results?
That's the official final results, and then they canvass basically the county results. Then all the cities and towns have to canvass their own results, and I have to send that all to them. They have their own meetings for that, and then the state has to canvass as well. And I believe the Monday after is when the state is canvassing.
Okay, so this process is not going to take forever. There is a deadline.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And everybody's worked all last weekend, preparing for Tuesday, and they'll be working all through this weekend to get everything done as quickly as possible. There's just certain processes that we have to do for the accuracy of the count, which is the most important
Right.
thing that we do.
Yes.
It's making sure we're accurate. We'd love to do it faster, but accuracy is more important, and there's certain statutory deadlines and guidelines and processes that we have to complete.
So I was wondering about, take the case of the LD1 race, and it's very close. I mean, the last I looked, 28 votes separate. So What happens if that close margin sticks and one of the candidates wants to challenge it, but it's some of their ballots are in Yavapai County and some of the ballots are in Maricopa County? How does that work?
So there's a law for automatic recount, and there's a formula that we have to follow, and basically we have to add those two candidates that are closest, we add their votes together, and we take 1/10 of 1%. And if that number is if the number that they're close, like the 28, is lower than that, then we have to do an automatic recount. So basically, the state would go to the courts. The court would order the recount, and then the state would tell Maricopa County and Yavapai County, you have to recount that race and give us new results.
What if the candidate wants the
There's
recount?
no law for a candidate to say, I demand a recount. There's no law in Arizona for that. Now, they could contest the election, and there's laws for basis on how they can contest the election, but there's no, I want a recount law.
Okay, so what if it's within the, what, 1/10 of 1%?
1%
In Yavapai County, but maybe not in
It has to
Maricopa
be
County?
1/10 of 1% total, so they
Okay.
take
Total
the total
votes.
votes.
All right.
Yeah, it's always the total.
Okay. I was just trying to think of some of the other questions that I had, but, so these are volunteers in the room right now.
They're from the parties.
They're-
They actually do get paid. We pay them for their time. But yeah, they do volunteer with the party.
So, well, it sounds like you guys have a lot of work. Well, I guess the only other question I would have is that you got the 43,000 ballots counted pretty quickly. So why will it take through the whole weekend to count 11,000?
Actually, we started counting the early ballots 7 days before the election. That's when statutorily we can start counting. So that 43 took us Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday. So does that make more sense?
So yeah, so it took
Yeah.
5 days to
Took
count
5 days to
43.
count
right.
43,000. Yeah. So yeah, we do have to go through the process. And again, we have all our audits along the way. So
And, but really Yavapai County's been pretty good about having very accurate votes and very accurate counts.
Yes.
And I know that you do verify voters from their signature, their ID,
Every
and
single
everything.
one. Every single signature is looked at by a trained staff member.
Handwriting experts.
not experts,
Not
but
experts,
they're
but we're trained. Yes,
They're
we
trained
train.
to look for things that might be kind of hinky. Is that a word, hinky?
Yeah, every other year we take forensic handwriting analysis classes. Every other year.
And that can't be automated at any point, the handwriting analysis?
There are
they're
machines.
machines.
Yeah, there are machines that do automate that process, and they'll find variances, and you can set the percentage. You know,
There's
if
certain
you,
thresholds that you
Yeah.
can set on those machines,
Yeah.
but they're
we don't have one of those machines.
I imagine they're kind of pricey.
We would like
Yes.
one of those machines.
Yes, we would. Yes, we would. We would like to have one, but for now, the machines are the eyes on our
Yes.
staff.
Yeah,
So-
it's all manual.
Okay, anything you ladies want to add?
That we're working as fast as we possibly can to be sure it's accurate, and unfortunately, there's laws that govern what we do, and
Fortunately.
okay, I should say, unfortunately, there's laws that change the priorities of
Yes.
things that we do.
Okay.
Where we would rather be getting out results. Excuse me. We're doing this hand count, and that is set in statute.
Yeah.
So we don't get to change that.
Yeah, the statute does say we have to start the hand count 24 hours, by 24 hours after the polls close. So like I said yesterday, we did the draw. Today we're finishing the hand count. And then again, there's another law that says once we finish, we have so much time to get those results in so they can get posted online.
But the front end of it hasn't stopped. We're still verifying those signatures on all of those that came in those 4 days. We're getting that all done. So that
Right.
as soon as this is done, those ballots are ready to be transferred over to the elections department so that they can get the tabulation started. So we're going as fast as we can with
With accuracy.